and thank you for joining me for another episode of Throwback Thursday. So, for this Thursday, I will be featuring the retired country. Actually, it's the suite name is Country Lane, and I'm going to show you here in a second everything that is in this suite. I am just making sure that I am actually live. I am doing this as an unlisted live, and the reason why I'm doing this is because for the project, the two projects that I'm going to be doing, there is going to be some fussy cutting and coloring, so it's gonna take a little time for doing these two cards. And when I do it as an unlisted live, all I have to do is just, add the pretty thumbnail and all the little descriptive stuff into the description, and really there's no editing. So when I do it this way, it is what it is. And so it's an easier way to do it. The only thing is I don't have, that opening and closing credits. But that's okay. I mean, I don't know how to do it quite yet as far as how to add that stuff, from my lives. So I am. Are you looking at my ceiling? Oh wow, I am so sorry, everyone. You're looking at my ceiling and not my desktop. Okay, there's my desktop. Um, I'm still having the issues with YouTube. I set up everything, to go in the horizontal mode, even when I go live. And then once I kind of do that basic setup in my phone for going live, I still get my screen that kind of darkens and it tells me the orientation is locked and I need to rotate my device back. But if I do that, then it's basically putting it in a vertical mode, and we don't want to see this much of my desk. We want to be able to see this much. Okay, so I am going to get into this. Before I do that, there are just two things that I want to bring to your attention at the beginning, just a little bit of housekeeping. Um, some of this, it's going to be really quick, and the only reason why is because these are things that there'll be a deadline coming up. Time has been going like really, really fast, so I just want to make sure that you're able to take advantage of these things. So the first thing is World Card Making Day. This happens on the first Saturdays of every October. This year it's going to be on October 5th. And like last year, Stampin' Up! Is going to be doing a free virtual event. This is open to not just demonstrators, but to basically, it's open to everyone. Um, this event will happen from 2 to 3 p.m. Mountain Time. So, whatever time zone you're in, just kind of adjust it from the Mountain Time. So, for here in Central Time, this will go from 3 to 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Um, because it's a free event, you still want to register, because once you register, Stampin' Up! Will email you the link to access the platform in which they're going to do this. Now, I will let you know that the projects that they're going to be doing 5 projects. They are using products that are currently in our annual catalog. They are using one of the card packs with coordinating envelopes, so they are printed card bases, 5 coordinating envelopes, and then they're using 3 different ephemera packs. Now, I think 1 or 2 of those ephemera packs may be on back order, but if you register for this and if you don't have the product and you want to be able to make those projects, or say maybe you got something going on this day or during this time and you miss it, it won't be a problem because come October 8th, it will be available for you to go back and to watch it. Now, they do, once you register, you will get an email that will let you know what products are going to be used. They're also going to show other projects that they're going to do that uses their basic white note cards and envelopes. And then there's a stamp set they're going to use. It's actually on the same page as where all that ephemera packs and those card bases and the coordinating envelopes are. Um, all of that stuff, they're going to let you know what you would need to create those projects. But during this virtual event from 2 to 3 Mountain Time, they're going to just be using those pre-printed card bases and their coordinating envelopes and the ephemera pack. Um, so the other thing too about registering, Stampin' Up! Did mention that they would have a free gift for everyone who does register for the event. So I am going to like hold this up just for a moment and hopefully it's kind of clear. So if you're not watching this video on your phone, uh, just go ahead and scan this QR code and it'll take you to the registration page. And if you happen to be watching on your phone, I will also have a link in the description of the video that you can click on that and it'll take you to the same page so you can register. Now, the registration's going to close on this. I believe it's 1 p.m. Mountain Time on Friday, October 4th. Now, also on World Card Making Day, if you are local to me here in Memphis, Tennessee, I will be holding an in-person event that will happen from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And if you can't make it or if you're not local to me, I will be going live right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. and I will be creating those projects that we did at my event. Now, the projects that I'm doing will not be the same projects that Stampin' Up! Is doing. So if you're interested in that, my email will be in the description. Just send me an email and let me know. I would need to know on by Thursday, October 3rd, if you're going to make it. So then that way I can have enough card packets put together. Okay. The other thing that's going on with Paper Pumpkin, now I did speak more about this when I did my monthly Paper Pumpkin kit. I did the Autumn Abundance was the kit for September, and I did do a video on that last week. So just go back a little bit in with my videos. I believe it was under, I did it as a unlisted live and then made it public. But if you click on my playlist, it'll be under Paper Pumpkin. The same thing, I'm doing this as this Throwback Thursday as a live. If you simply click on the playlist and you go to the Throwback Thursdays, this video will appear in that playlist. But for Paper Pumpkin, for the month of October, they do have a subscription special that's going on. So for your this is for new subscribers. The kit for October is going to be the Nest of Christmas. This kit coordinates with the Nest of Winter Sweet collection. This is currently in our holiday mini catalog. For your first kit, you go to paperpumpkin.com. It will ask you which demonstrator that you want to join under. Please choose me. There's a section there for a discount code. Put in holiday 40. Holiday is all capitalized and the number 40. Um, Now, if you had been a subscriber in the past and you want to resubscribe and you want to get this deal, what Paper Pumpkin does look at to see if whether you're new or if you're a returning subscriber or if you're new is really it's the email address. So if you want to come back and subscribe to Paper Pumpkin, um, just use a different email than what you used before. And now to get this special for this kit, the subscription will end on October 10th, okay? The one thing that's nice about Paper Pumpkin kits is that it's basically an all-inclusive kit. So as a new subscriber, you will get one of these acrylic blocks in your kit, and then you would hold on to this because then you would use it in your future kits. Now, with the kits, like say, we do get sneak peeks into what the next few kits are going to be. And I did showcase that in that Paper Pumpkin video that I did. So if you want to check out what the ones for November and December are, I did show sneak peek pictures, and I did read off the descriptions of what's in those kits. Um, but if you want to pause for that particular month, or say you decide that, well, it's not really what I want, and you want to end the subscription, just remember that you always want to do it by the 10th of that month, because come the 11th, the new subscription period opens up for the next month's kit, and at that point you're also being charged for this kit, for the this kit as well. So it's 40% off the first month, so it'll be off of the October kit, and then on November and going forward it would be the regular price. Now, the regular price here in the US is $25, and that does include the shipping in it. So it would be 25 plus whatever your tax would be. So again, I went through basically what's kind of like in these kits and all that back on that Paper Pumpkin video. So go ahead and check it out if you want to know a little bit more of what it's about. So Paper Pumpkin kits are great for those beginner card makers. Maybe they don't have like all the supplies and all that to do the card making. This really, all you really need is a pair of scissors. They do include glue dots, they include dimensionals, so like a bone folder, a take your pick tool, a pair of scissors is really all that you would need for these kits. Each month there is an exclusive photopolymer stamp set that comes with it, and there is at least one Stampin' Spot that's in the kit as well. In addition to that, this is now available. This is available to those that are subscribed to Paper Pumpkin. They do have a coordinating add-on that is for the October, November, and December kit, and it's the Merry Tags and More dies. So these dies, they will coordinate with the Paper Pumpkin kits. Now, you do not need these in order to complete those kits. This is just something extra if you want to do more crafting, maybe using some leftover pieces that you may have from that kit. So again, this I did get these dies, and I will be showcasing them when I do my next Paper Pumpkin in October. If you would like these, and again, it's just for those that are already that are subscribed. So if you subscribe for the October kit, you can also take advantage on getting these set of dies. These are $12 here in the US, and the item number for these is 165639. Okay, so that's all that I'm going to mention about any housekeeping stuff. I will have more for you tomorrow night when I do my Friday Night Live. We did get some info back on Tuesday of some really cool, interesting things that are coming up in the month, starting October 1st. So I will share all of that stuff with you when I go live at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and I hope you'll be able to join me. Okay, so with that, let's get started into what we're going to be doing for this Throwback Thursday. So for this Thursday, I am going to be using, this is actually the Country Lane Suite Collection. Um, this one's a little bit different than most of our other suites. So typically, it would have a bundle, so it would be a stamp set and a set of dies, or maybe a stamp set and a coordinating punch. But this one did not have that. So there are no dies that will cut out any of these images. So this is why this video is going to be a little bit longer, because as much as I don't like doing it, I will be doing fussy cutting. So um, yeah, that's the one downfall with this one. It just didn't have any dies that went with it. So there's the Country Home Photopolymer stamp set. There's also the Tin Tile Dynamic Textured Impressions Embossing folder. This was back at the time when Sizzix was making Stampin' Up's embossing folders and dies. So this one is basically like our 3D, so it's a much thicker embossing folder, and there's a much deeper impression that it leaves on the cardstock. Now, if you're using one of these 3D embossing folders that has the Sizzix name on it, if you're using your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, the sandwich that you would use for this would be your base plate, and then plate number 3, which is one of the clear cutting plates. The Stampin' Up 3D embossing folders, you would need the base plate, and then there's a gray plate, a number 4, that you would use with this. So these are a little bit thicker than the Stampin' Up 3D embossing folders. So we're using this as well in our projects. I try to use everything that was in the suite when I do my throwbacks. Now, the only thing is there was, with this suite, there were these chicken wire elements, so they were just basically like a silver foil die cut. I don't know if I have those. I tried to see if I could find them, and I can't find them, so I don't know if I actually have them or not. So that's the only thing that I'm not using on my projects, because basically I don't think I have them. Um, there is galvanized clips. So what's cool about these, you can just clip them onto the cardstock. Now you do have to be a little careful because it is a little bit tight, but you can add some ribbon or whatever on that clip. So it's a nice little decorative element. And then there's also the braided linen trim. So this trim, I really love this trim. And I actually bought quite a few rolls of this before it went away. They have come out, like, since this suite had been out. They had this in Real Red. They had it in Mossy Meadow. And more recently, they had this in Calypso Coral as well. But I really like this braided linen trim. Okay, also in the suite is this 12 by 12 DSP. This is the Country Lane Designer Series paper. It has Blackberry Bliss, Cajun Craze, Crushed Curry, Early Espresso, Mint Macaron, Old Olive, and because this was back in 2018, at that time it was then Whisper White, which now we have Basic White. So all of these prints, you got some cotton, and you got some more background type images. You got some pumpkins and greenery, and more of the cotton, just a little bit of a smaller print, and some looks like a cable knit, and just really a really fun. And you got some wood design type paper there. And what's our last one here? And then you have the Blackberry Bliss with the white dots. So that's the DSP. And then also with this was the galvanized metallic paper. So this, it's not really thin. It's basically almost like the thickness of, not quite as thick as our cardstock, but it's not like really, really thin. So I'm also going to be using this on one of my projects as well. So let me get the paper out of the way, And let me bring in, I gotta remember I don't have my microphone on. So if I happen to turn away and I'm talking, I may not be as loud. So let me kind of put that aside. Let me bring in the pieces for my first card. So again, there's no dies to this, so I will be doing coloring on these, and I will also be doing some fussy cutting. And I will tell you, like I mentioned before, I'm not a fan of fussy cutting, so now I also didn't print down my thing for the sizes of my cardstock pieces, so I'm going to kind of measure as I let you know what it is that I have. So for my card base, this is Early Espresso. This measures 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. I have a piece of Cajun Craze. This measures, what is this? This is 5.25 by 4. And then I have a piece of Basic Beige. This is a 3-inch square. And then I have a scrap of Basic Beige. And then I have a piece of Crumb cake. This is 5.25 by 1. Okay, so now let me start off. I'll fold and burnish this card base. And I will set this aside. And then I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. This piece of Cajun Craze, I'm going to emboss it using this tin tile embossing folder. So let me bring that in. And let's move this stuff out of the way. I'll put that right there. Okay, and then like I said, it's the base plate and one of the clear cutting plates. Normally, if you have one of the Stampin' Up cutting plate, the Stampin' Up embossing folders, you would use the base plate, this number 1, and the number 4 gray plate for using your 3D embossing folders. If you're using the regular embossing folders, it would be this number 1 base plate and then the 2 number 3 clear cutting plates. Now the one thing you want to remember, there is a thin die cut adapter plate, a number 2. You're not using that when you're doing your dry embossing. Okay, so I'm going to take that, place that down. I'm going to take my Cajun Craze, and what's nice, there's a printed line on the embossing folder. So I'm just going to line my cardstock up, and then I'm going to place that down right there. Put the plate on. Now when you run these through, you do want the spine side of the embossing folder to go in first. And I'm just going to crank that through. It is a little bit tight. Okay. And these do leave a very deep impression. Now, in the beginning when we had these, they suggested where you can lightly spritz your cardstock with water to get a really nice deep impression, but I find that I get that without having to wet my cardstock down. And again, if you had wet your cardstock, you got to make sure that's dry before you start assembling your card. Okay, so then this piece here, we're going to set that aside. On this piece of my crumb cake, let me bring in the stamps that I'm going to use. So I'm going to use the little stamp that says hello, and then I'm going to bring in this milk can, and then there's kind of like this greenery type top image, this one right here that I'm going to use with that. Okay, let me set that aside. Okay, I'm going to bring in my early Espresso ink pad, and I apologize for all the noise. I have a little plastic shoebox over here that I got all of my supplies in. Okay, so I'm going to put my stamps on these blocks. Okay, and then let's see. I just need a little one for this one right here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is my little greeting, I'm actually going to, let's see. I want to have an idea where I'm going to stamp it. So I'm going to place this right over here. So then I'm going to ink up my little hello. This way I know exactly where I'm going to stamp this. And because it's just a little greeting, even though I'm stamping this on top of a piece of textured cardstock, it's still not an issue when it comes to getting a nice image of that greeting. So I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to do a little bit of distressing on that. What I want to do is I want to stamp my images first, so that way I give my ink a chance to dry. So then that way it's dry before I start coloring with my Stampin' Blends. So on this 3x3 inch piece of my basic beige, I'm going to stamp this milk can kind of like towards the bottom and in the center. Okay, and then I'll put that aside. And then on this scrap piece, I'm going to ink this up. And I'm going to stamp this. Okay, so that looks good. I'll set that aside. Now this is a photopolymer stamp set. So with these stamps, there's no foam cushion like what's on our red rubber stamps. So if you struggle on getting a good clean stamped image, one of the things you can do, if it's a new photopolymer stamp set, you do want to clean them first, because in the process of making these stamps, there is a film that is on the stamp. So by cleaning it first, you're removing that. You don't need to use like a sanding block or anything like that for them. Just clean them. Maybe even stamp a couple of times, like say on a piece of scrap paper, and clean it again, and then that should work. And if you still have a problem with some of your more solid images, because again there's no foam cushion on those, use something like a piercing mat. I have one right here. It's still in its plastic. This is just basically a foam pad. Stamp on top of this, and that should help as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in my collapsible trash bin. And the reason why I'm doing that is I'm going to distress that piece of crumb cake, that strip. So carefully, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out my snips, and I'm just going to scrape the top and the bottom edge of this piece of cardstock. So when you do this, you do want to be careful, because these are sharp, and you do not want to end up scraping your finger, because it will cut you pretty bad. So I'm just adding a little bit of texture to this by just roughing up the top and the bottom edge of this cardstock. I'm not going to worry about the sides of it, just the top and bottom. Okay, and just do a little bit more on this end. Okay, so there's that. And again, I mean, I'm hoping that you're able to see it really clear because again, looking through my phone, it is kind of blacked out a little bit, telling me that I need to change the orientation of my phone, but no, I'm not going to do that. And of course, there's I have my laptop over here, but then there's also a delay. So, okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to color these in with my blends. And what I'm going to do is, because when you use blends, sometimes they, well, not sometimes, but they do bleed through like your cardstock. I'm going to place a piece of scrap paper on top of my grid paper so that way I can salvage this to use again for my next video. Okay, so then I have some blends here, and let me pull in what it is that I'm going to use. Oops. So I'm going to use my light and dark copper clay. Now, Cajun Craze is one of the colors that's, in the paper. So I could have used copper clay. Now, the thing is, well, no, excuse me, Cajun Craze. Cajun Craze is a really dark color. So I opted for using copper clay. Copper clay is basically, it's a lighter shade of Cajun Craze. And copper clay is one of our current in colors. Uh, this set will actually, this color will actually retire uh, at the end of our annual catalog. So it'll be, I believe, the end of April that that catalog goes till. So this is currently one of our in colors. I do have my early espresso Stampin' Right marker. And let's see, what else did I use on here? I got my sample. I also have my light and dark mint macaron. And then I also have my light and dark crumb cake. So just 3 colors, or basically 4 colors for this. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to use my dark crumb cake. And I'm going to add some shadow onto these cattails. Okay. Now, the best way to blend these alcohol markers is to do it while the ink is wet. Now, a little tip, I am doing this on a piece of our regular cardstock. So this cardstock is going to really soak up, uh, the ink. So you don't want to do a whole lot of blending in one spot because it then will bleed out. Um, when we do, you typically, when you color, like say on basic white or very vanilla, there is kind of like a coating that's on the cardstock. So it doesn't like absorb, I mean, it will absorb the ink, but it has kind of like a different reaction on it than if you use like our colored cardstock. Okay, then I'm going to take my light mint macaron. And then this one thing here that looks almost like, I don't know, it kind of looks like an artichoke, and there's a little natty bug that just flew in my face. And it needs to go. I do have one of those catchies, which you plug it in, it has the blue light and a fan in it. And that thing is currently running, and it really needs to go over to that thing. Okay, so I'm going to use my dark, but I'm going to let that, excuse me, I'm going to let that dry some first. The one thing I've noticed, if I talk too much, my throat all of a sudden decides to start get scratchy. So let me just get a little sip of water. Okay, so then these little, like what looks like berries, I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Right marker. And actually, I'm going to color those in. So these are our newer styled Stampin' Right markers. So the bullet tip on it is a little bit thicker than the tips that we had on the old markers. Okay, so I got all of those. All right, and then I'm going to bring in my light copper clay. And then these other leaves here, I'm going to color those in. Okay, and then we have these two here. Now, if I was doing it as my pre-records like I normally would do, this is the part where as you're watching it, I would be speeding it up and you would be listening to a very cool version of Amazing Grace. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry a little bit. I'm going to bring in the dark mint macaron and I'm going to get these little leaves. And hopefully you can see, let me move my lights over a little bit, brighten it up just a little bit. I turned them a little bit just so those lights wouldn't reflect off of the packaging from the DSP. Okay, and then on this thing that looks like an artichoke, get out of here. Okay, I'm just going to add in some spots to create kind of like that shadow. Okay. We don't want to overdo it because like I said, this will end up, actually I forgot a little leaf. When you do color on the colored cardstock, it does bleed through a lot more than it would say on either very vanilla or basic white. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in the dark copper clay and I'm going to add the shadow on these leaves now. Now the reason why I didn't do this while it was wet, kind of like two things. I didn't want it to end up bleeding out more, and also I wanted to be able to really see the difference between the light and the dark, and it kind of gives it almost kind of like a watercolor type effect on it. So now let me get these out of the way. Excuse me. Again, oh, I gotta color this too. Almost forgot. I have my milk can. So let me do that. So for this one, I'm using my light and dark gray granite. So is this it? Yeah, here we go. Okay, so on this, I'm going to use the brush tip, and I'm going to use the side. I'm not going to come straight down on the tip. And I'm just going to come in with a couple of strokes on either side of this can. So this is kind of creating my shadow. And I'm doing this where I'm not coming outside of the stamped line. I'll come up here. And then I'll come across the top. I'll add another one there. And like I said, that if you hold the tip of this on there too long, it will start to bleed out just a little bit. Okay, and then I'll come in with my light, and I will basically just take it and fill in this center section here. And then also do these handles. Okay. All right, so now this, we are not going to be cutting that out. So now the fun part, fussy cutting. Some people, they love the fussy cut. They find that it's very relaxing. You know, it's something that they could end up doing, you know, like say if they were sitting in front of a TV. I will tell you that is not me. One, I would never get anything like done because I'm too busy concentrating on what's on the TV. And two, me personally, I don't find anything relaxing about this because at some point before I'm done, my hand starts to feel like it's cramping up. So, yeah. I do have a brother scan and cut. So something like this, I could easily end up stamping and then using that, but I'm not going to pull that in because there's really not enough room on my work surface here to pull it out. Okay, so on the very bottom of this, I'm actually cutting right along the line of my stamped image because this is the part that's going to be sitting on top of that can. But otherwise, going around the rest of it, there'll be like a small border. So tomorrow night, I'll be going live right here at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I hope you can join me. I will be featuring the Humble Home bundle. This bundle is in our new holiday mini catalog. It's actually the images that are used on the cover of the catalog. What I do for my lives, I have been, since I started doing lives, I have been offering free card kits with a minimum $35 order. Now, if you had watched, I posted this on Monday evening. On Monday, the 23rd of September, I had reached my 1 year anniversary in doing video content on this page. So I did a video just to kind of talk a little bit about, you know, my journey in doing the videos. Now I didn't create like any projects on that one. I did mention that there's a possibility that I don't know, I may put a pause on offering free card kits, and the only reason why I'm saying that is because, you know, I either have people who come on and watch me who may not be stampers, you know, they're people that I'm friends with, you know, so they wouldn't have like all the materials and all that to create stuff. They just want to come and watch and support me. And then I also have others that are demos as well. So, you know, to order from me wouldn't make sense since they can place an order with themselves and they can receive their discount. So I may put a pause on that until the time comes where I have like a larger customer base and I have more people who come on to join me while I'm doing my lives. Um, but what I do at the end of my videos, I do a wheel of names, and as people come on, I have the link pinned up at the top of the chat box. So that way, anybody that comes on, they can go and add their name to that spreadsheet. And at the very end, I choose 3 winners to pick one of the cards that I made that night. Because I will tell you, with doing the videos, you know, I already make a sample of the card to work off of. And then, of course, when I go to do the project in the video, then that's another set. So I could end up having like 4 to 6 cards for each video. So I decided, well, instead of just having all of these cards just piling up, I do a drawing at the end for the cards that I made. We're almost done with this. Okay. And again, my thumb ends up cramping up when I do that, so that's one of the reasons why I don't really like doing it. Okay, so what I'm going to do for the back of this, I'm going to bring in my dimensionals, and I'm going to add some to the back of this. Okay. And then I'm going to take this piece here and I'm going to add some dimensionals to the back of this as well. So I'll put one in each corner and then one right in the middle so it's not all saggy. Okay, so I'm going to remove these paper backings off of this. Now basically we're at the assembling part of our project, so this will go pretty quick. Now I don't have any dimensionals on these cattails, and the reason why is because these will extend off up above this piece that it's going to lay on, so I'm not going to put any dimensionals on that. Okay, do we got all the paper backings off? Yep. Okay, so let me bring these pieces in. Okay, I'm going to bring in my seal. And I'm going to add some. Now on this, both sides are equally pretty, so it's just whichever side you would like. And again, when you use something like seal on an embossed piece of cardstock, you don't want to go too hard. You don't need to press really hard with these because it will tear the cardstock. Okay, and then I'm going to take this and center it onto my card base. And then this piece here, I'm going to add some adhesive on this. And then I'm going to center it. I'll try to center it. Like so. And again, it may be a little uneven, and that's only because I distressed those edges. Okay, then I'm going to take this piece here and I'm going to place this. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this first and I'm going to place this right over the can. So I want it straight. Okay, now I'll place this down so this way it doesn't extend up over the top of my card. So where's the hello? The hello's over there. Okay, there we go. So that's it so far. Now I am going to use some of the braided linen trim. Now I have a little piece on here. So I may have, this may be enough for doing both the projects. I don't know yet. I may not. Then I'm going to create a bow. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in a glue dot. Now the glue dots that I am using, these were from a past paper pumpkin kit. And this is what's left over, so I'm going to go ahead and use them, and I'm going to place this right underneath that greenery stuff that's on the over on top of the can. Then I'm going to place my bow right into that, and then get my scissors, and I'm going to trim. Now what's really cool about this braided trim is that you can come in and you can separate all these little threads. So then you can add a little bit more interest and dimension on your card. So I'm just going to pull some of this apart. And there we go. There is our first card. Okay, so on to my second one. So let me kind of tidy up just a little bit. If you've been with me when I've done my other videos, you know that I have to kind of tidy up a little bit before I pull everything in for the next project, because my space is kind of limited and it will fill up very quickly. So I have opened up my other roll. Okay, so now for this card. Now this card's going to have a little more detail to it, so it'll take a little bit more time to create. So for this card, what I wanted to do is I wanted to utilize basically all the elements that are in the kit. So I have taken the DSP. Now there are six double-sided designs in the pack of the DSP. So you have a total of 12 sheets, 2 sheets each. Now what I did, I had from the paper, now this is each of the patterns. I had cut these little tiny strips. They measure 5 1/4 by 1/4 inch. So I have every single pattern right there. So we're going to use all of that. My card base, this is Cajun Craze, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. My ruler, let me bring that in. So I have, this is basically a scrap piece of basic white. This measures 5¼ by 3. I am going to be adhering these little DSP strips onto this piece of cardstock. Then I have a scrap piece of Very Vanilla. This is what I'm going to stamp on, color, and then fussy cut again. And then I have a piece of this galvanized, hold on, I want to give you the right name, the galvanized metallic paper. This measures, what is this? This is 4 by 3. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my embossing machine. Well, actually, let's do our stamping first, so that way we give our ink a chance to dry. So that way it's going to dry before I start coloring. So let me put these stamps back. So in this set you have the milk can, and then there's kind of like this picture, and then let's see, and then the topping, I'm going to use this other topping that has the cotton in it. I'll put that back, and we'll put this on here. Okay, so I'm not adding a greeting to the front of this. Now, there are lots of different greetings that you can use, and it's kind of got these mixed, print and script fonts. Yeah, this card that I'm doing, there's a lot to it, so I think by adding, if I would have added, any greetings to it, it just would have been probably too much. So let me I'm using my early Espresso ink again. So let me open this up. Now, both of these images, they will fit on this cardstock. I just have to make sure I stamp it, far enough over so there's enough space. Now, both of these images are going to be cut out, so I'm not worried about, if something's centered or whatever. So, and then for this one, there'll be enough room for me to stamp this on here. Okay, so let me close this up. Kind of do things so that way that just gives that a chance to dry. So I'm going to clean these stamps. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to actually take all my little strips and I'm going to add it onto this piece of cardstock. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in my silicone craft sheet. Okay, and then on this piece, I'm going to add some right here to the top, some in the middle, on the bottom, and then I'm going to come up on these sides too because I don't want my strips to come off, even though most of this panel will end up being covered by the other layers that I am adding. Okay, so I'm going to take my first piece. Now, once you get the first piece down, then all the other pieces are easy to get on. You're just butting it right up against the piece you just put on. So I'm going to try and get this on straight. And of course, this adhesive is very sticky. And again, once you get the first one on, then all the rest of them are fairly easy. Okay, just kind of press that down. And then now I'm determining this is going to be the top. Okay, and kind of working this based off of how I got it on my sample. I tried to arrange these where I didn't have like all of the same colors like right up against each other. I wanted them to kind of be random on here. Okay. And then we have the piece that looks like wood. And all I'm doing is I'm just lining it right up against the strip that I had previously had put down. Okay, and then let's see, we got this piece here. Of course, my hands keep getting into the adhesive. Okay, and then we have this one here with the pumpkin. Let's see which way goes this way. You see if I can kind of turn this and maybe it'll be a little bit easier. We'll see. Okay, and then we have this piece. All right, and then we have our piece with our Blackberry Bliss with the dots on it. All right, and then we have this piece. Now I do want to make sure that I put it on the right way. I almost put this piece on upside down. But then again, it probably would not have been really noticed because it is very thin. And like I said, a good chunk of the center part of this whole panel is going to be covered. All right, then we have this piece here. Okay, we're almost there. Okay, then we have our cotton. And then our last piece. Okay. Now, if you have some white edges showing on here, what you can do is I got my mini little guillotine paper trimmer, and I can trim just a teeny tiny bit so that way it's even. Now it did extend a little bit off to the edge, but that's okay. I mean, we're going to be placing this down, so you're not even going to really even notice that. And then I'll just take a little tiny bit off of the other end. Okay, so then that way you don't see any of those little white edges. Okay, so then I'm going to take this, I'm going to set that aside, and then I'll fold and burnish my card base. Okay, and then we'll take this piece and we'll actually adhere it to that, so you can see that I'm basically using all of the colors that are in that DSP. That was what I was aiming to try and do, and also use like all of the products from this whole suite too. Okay, so then let me bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I'm going to emboss this piece. I'm going to do it this way. Okay, put that down. And I apologize for the shaking. The stand that I have my phone in is attached to this table. So there is our galvanized specialty DSP. So that leaves a nice. Now, one of the things you can do with this to kind of distress it a little bit, you can take a sponge dauber or maybe one of our blending brushes, and you can use like something like early espresso, and then you can lightly brush some on here and then wipe it, like say with a tissue, and it'll leave a nice little distressing look to that as well. Okay, I'm not going to do that on this project though. And it's just an idea, and that's something different that you can do. Okay, so now I'm going to set that aside, and then I'm going to bring in this piece and we're going to do some coloring and some fussy cutting. Okay, so for this, I'm going to bring in my light and dark mint macaron, and I'm going to use that to color in this picture. And again, I'm just doing some brush strokes from the outer edge coming in. And add a little bit there, just so that way there's a shadow. Okay. And then I'll bring in the light. Okay. I'll add a little bit just on the very bottom there. Okay, and then for this whole cluster of stuff, I'm going to bring in my light and dark copper clay. So I'm going to take my light and I'm going to do, now there's a name for all these things. I just don't know offhand what the name of it. I mean, I know that's cotton, but these things I don't remember offhand what they're called. So I'm gonna color these in. Okay, and again, I'm going to go over in some spots with my dark, but I'm going to let that dry some first. Okay, then I'm going to bring in, I got all of my stuff over here. So I have my, this is Dark Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to color in. Now, we don't have a Cajun Craze, no, not Cajun Craze, a crushed curry Stampin' Blend, but the Dark Daffodil Delight does look very, very close to crushed curry, so I'm going to use that. So I don't know what these two things are right here, but I'm gonna make those yellow. Okay, then I'm gonna take my this is my light old olive, and I'm gonna color in these leaves. And I'll go back in some spots of these leaves with my dark. Now again, coloring on this Very Vanilla is a little bit different than when I colored on the colored cardstock. It's not as porous. There's kind of like this coating on it. So it's not gonna bleed out as bad as it would on that cardstock. I've got one here. Okay, I think I got all the leaves. All right, and then I'm going to bring in my dark Blackberry Bliss, and I'm going to color in these little berries. Okay, and then I'm going to take my dark copper clay and these little like holes that are in this. I'm just going to just put a little dab on there. Just kind of add some like on the edges just to create a bit of a shadow. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in, let's see, my dark old olive, and I'm going to go in some spots over these leaves. Now these leaves are small, so I don't have to do anything crazy, just add a little bit. Like so. Now, the cotton, I'm leaving that as is. Now, one of the things, I mean, me looking at this, I don't know if you can see this or not, but when I look at it, I can almost see that like the parts that would be the cotton actually looks kind of white compared to the Very Vanilla background. Not much, but I kind of see a little bit of a difference. I don't know if you can see it if I hold it up. But the other thing that you can also do with this, and I'm not going to do this on this one, but after you cut this out and you assemble your card, um, if you have the puff paint that Stampin' Up! Carried a few years ago, You can add a little bit onto the cotton and then heat set it and it'll puff up. Or I've seen samples where someone took like little pieces of, say, like a cotton ball and have glued it down on that too. So that's another thing, another bit of texture and interest that you can add onto your card as well. All right, so the fun part, to cut this all out. So I'm going to start off with my picture. And on this, I'm going to cut out a good part of the inside of this handle as well. And to do that, the easiest way is I do have one of the tips that's for our Take Your Pick tool. It has one like an X-Acto knife blade that I'll just add some little cuts in there just so I can get in with my scissors. Okay. This one I seem to be cutting right on the line. Okay, so now to cut the inside of that out. So again, there's additional tips that you can get for your Take Your Pick tool. So this is something that's new that's in our annual catalog. So needless to say, I'm just going to say you got to be very careful with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add, I'm going to kind of like poke a hole. And I'm going to carefully just add like a slit mark in here. And make sure my fingers aren't in the way as I do this. And basically I'm just doing it so it's easier for me to get my the tip of my scissors in there. Okay, so I'm done with that. I'm going to come in here. Now because the handle is like really thin and I'm not going to be able to put adhesive on that, I am leaving a bit of a border. Actually, it may be a little bit easier on me if I come from the other direction on that. Okay. So I'm going to cut around. And again, I'm leaving a little bit of that very vanilla border around that. Okay. So then there is that picture. A little piece there, but there we go. All right, I'm going to set that aside. Let me get all these little bits picked up and thrown away. Okay, so now I have this piece. This is going to be the fun one. So I want to kind of come close, like on the bottom part of it, because this is the part that's going to kind of like hang over the very top edge of that picture. And then as I go around the rest of this, I'm going to leave a bit of border around it. I'm not going to go crazy and completely cut all the way in on these pieces. This is definitely not one of those type of cards that you would want to mass produce, because you'd be working on these for a while. And again, this would be a part where this would be normally sped up and you'd be hearing the cool music. But since I'm kind of doing this as an unlisted live, yeah. It's funny when I do some of those pre-recorded stuff and I do the sections of the video clips where I speed it up and I add the music. It's funny, I do that typically like for doing stuff like fussy cutting and coloring, you know, that kind of tedious stuff that would take a while. And it's like when I go back and I watch it to see me like coloring that fast and cutting out really fast, I'm like, yeah, I only wish I could do it that fast and have it look really good. I am definitely not someone who likes to rush because I find if I rush, then that's where things kind of get messed up. And I'm the type of crafter that it's like, okay, everything's got to be like put on straight and kind of even. Now fussy cutting, yeah, I one of the things I don't like about it is because like a lot of the edges may look a little bit choppy. And I guess that's one of the reasons why I don't really like it so much, other than it's not very comfortable doing this. So, yeah, that's kind of like how I am. I'm just not one of those crafters that tries to race through my projects because then that's, like I said, it just ends up getting messed up and that's, yeah, that would probably drive me more crazy if that happened. So, and as I'm doing this, I'll also mention that in the description, I will have a few other links. Like I said, I mentioned about the World Card Making Day, the Stampin' Up event that that they're going to have, the virtual event. So I'll have the link for you to register in the description. My email address will also be there. So if you're local to me and you would like to come to my in-person event on the 5th of October, again, I will do that from 11 to 3 p.m. We'll be creating something completely different than what Stampin' Up is doing. We'll be actually doing some stamping and whatnot. Those projects that we do in person, again, that evening at 7 p.m., I will go live and I will recreate those projects. Um, what else? Then I'll also have the link about the Paper Pumpkin promotion that's going on. And again, if you want to see more of the sneak peeks of what's coming up and all that, um, there, like I said, go back a couple of days ago, maybe about a week or so ago, maybe less than that. I did a video of the September kit, and I showed you all the sneak peeks of what's coming up. So all that information is in there. Let's see what else. Also, we do have, you know, if you want if you're not working with another demonstrator and you would like a catalog, I will have a link in the description as well. Now, if you're not working with another demonstrator, please, the only reason why I say that is because you know, I don't mind sending out a free catalog to anybody, but know that, you know, there is a cost for me, you know, with the shipping, and of course, shipping has gone up. So, I mean, if you, again, if you're working with another, if you've been ordering through another demonstrator and all that, you know, I just asked if you would get it through them. Otherwise, I'd be more than happy to send it out to you. So we do have an annual catalog, and we also have the holiday mini. We also have a digital scrapbooking brochure. Now, um, I'm not going to print that out and send it. I will have a link for that in the description. Now on, what day was it? Sunday was the first day of fall. So I did do a video, and in that video I did use the Autumn to Remember scrapbooking workshop kit products in those cards. So go ahead and check that one out. Those came out really, really cool. And what else? Otherwise, you know, if you do want one of our paper catalogs, my email is it is down below. So just send me an email along with, you know, like your full name and mailing address, and let me know which catalogs, if you want just one of them or you want both of them, just let me know. And what I'm going to do is I'm pulling this out a little bit, just kind of bending it out, just so I can get it onto this piece of cardstock without tearing it all up. Okay, so I'm going to place that right there, and then I'm going to kind of, I think I pulled it out too much. Yeah, probably come off. Okay, so I'm getting a little warm here. So I'm going to pull out some of this braided linen trim. Okay. Pull out a piece and cut some. Okay. I'm going to tie this, go through here. Oops. I want to completely tear it apart. I'm going to kind of come through here, and I'm going to tie a bow on here. Kind of hard to tie this when you got that little metal clip kind of moving around on you. Okay. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to kind of clip this on like so. Now I pulled it, like I said, I did pull it apart a little bit more. So what I'll do is I'll put a dimensional on the back of that to hold it. And let me try and fix my bow a little bit here. Okay. And then I'm going to trim this some. Okay, and I'm not going to worry about like pulling the strands apart on that. Okay, so let me put that like so. I'm going to bring in my dimensionals. And since, like I said, I loosened that up some, I'm going to kind of hold that down with a dimensional. Get one up in that corner there. And then I have one more. There's a lot that I put on here, but I don't want this to all sag on me. All right, so let me remove all these backings. And again, I will be going live tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And again, I'll be using the Humble Home bundle. That's what's featured on the cover of the holiday mini catalog. So I will be using that. And again, I do a giveaway of those cards I make at the end of my live. So I hope you can join me. Okay, so now this piece I am going to place more over to the right, and I'm going to center it from top to bottom like so. Now you can still see like some of those different patterns of the DSP that's in this suite. Okay, so then I am going to take more dimensionals. So I'm going to grab two, and I'm going to place them on the back of my picture, and I want them to extend up a little bit because that's what I'm going to stick that greenery onto. Okay, and then I'm just going to place this, going to have it straight, and kind of place that right there. Okay, and then I'm going to add more onto the back of this. So now this isn't going to be sticking up over the top, so I'm going to add dimensionals to the top of those. And for that, I'm going to bring in my mini ones. So this one's a little bit too big. I'm going to bring in my mini ones. Now I find what works really great for my mini ones is using like a pick tool. So on this one, these are fairly new additional tips. So you have a piercing tool that is a bit thinner. This is what comes with the actual full take your pick tool. You can see that the piercing tool, the piercing part of it's bigger than this one. Either one will work. So I find that by using my take your pick tool, it's a little bit easier to pick up these mini dimensionals, to place them on these smaller areas. Okay, and then I think we can do one more, the large ones right there. Okay, so now let me get all this stuff out of the way because we pretty much have, all we have left to do is just to place this on top. So let me remove all these. So I do want to mention that for, well, again, I'm kind of recording this. I'm not actually recording this on Thursday. I am doing this on a Tuesday evening. And of course, you know, I will schedule it to go live. Of course, if you're watching this on Thursday. But the forecast is showing that there's a storm down in the Caribbean that's going to become Hurricane Helene, that it looks like it's going to hit that west coast of Florida and kind of move its way up into Georgia and all that. So for all of you that are watching that happen to be in the path of that, I pray that you're all going to be okay. Stay safe. If you're in an area where it's going to get really bad, really think about, if they're telling you to evacuate, then please do so. Don't want to see anything happen to you, okay? And of course, you know, if you're dealing with all of the rain, then yeah, please, again, be safe. We're just going to get some remnants of that rain. I don't think we're going to get any high winds like what we did with what was that, Francine that we got. Okay, so here is our second card. And let me bring in the first card that we did. So just really, really fun set. Has that rustic feel to it. Like again, the only thing that I find that's just missing, that was missing from this bundle, was dies to actually die cut these pieces out. So there's our projects for my Throwback Thursday. Again, I thank you for joining me today. Actually, I'm going to be posting this early in the morning. So whenever you're watching this, whether it's morning, evening, afternoon, whatever, um, thank you for joining me. And if you like the projects that I made, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. It really does help me in not only growing this channel, which at the time of me filming this, I am at 500 subscribers. It not only subscribing, liking, commenting, sharing, all of those things help me in not only building this channel, but then it also helps me in building my Stampin' Up! Business. So again, if you need catalogs, if you want to register for the World Card Making Day, all the other things that I spoke about, I'll have that in the description of the video. And I hope you'll come back tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time and join me for my Friday night live in the studio, where I'll feature the Humble Home Bundle. So until then, everyone, you stay safe and be blessed. Bye-bye.